Welcome to Andy's Personal Development, the place for transactional conversations. During these conversations, we'll discover intentionality and clarity, and of course, purpose. Now, here is your host, Andy Anderson Charles. Hi, people, and welcome. This is season 5 of our podcast, and we are at Transactional Conversations, the place for intentionality, clarity, and purpose. This episode is entitled The Transformative Potential of AI in Personalizing Education with Jose Moreno. So here's what our guest looks like, and a reminder of this episode that is to come. I will introduce him to you shortly. Welcome again, live on Transactional Conversations, the transformative potential of AI in personalizing education with Jose Moreno. And he's our guest, and he's ready and willing and able to go. Jose Moreno graduated from Harvey Mudd College and began his tech career at Microsoft, working on services for over 500 million users. At Netflix, he contributed to features like Skip Credits and technically led the account sharing initiative, helping Netflix add over 40 million new subscribers over the following 12 months. As founder and CEO of New Light, Jose now focuses on transforming education through technology. His company's product, IntelliTier, leverages AI to empower educators to provide personalized student support, aiming to make a positive impact in education. He says, for us, it's not just about the tech, it's about making a real difference. Education has long been undeserved or underserved by underwhelming and overwhelming solutions. So, with passion and expertise, he's on a mission to revolutionize ed tech. So, without further ado, let's introduce our guest live here on Transactional Conversations, Jose Moreno. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me, Andy. I'm excited to be here.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome and glad to have you. And we appreciate you and the time that you're taking to be here. We already have a thumbs up, a like from the audience. So that means they're looking forward to this conversation that we are going to have. So, how are things happening for you for the new year? Let's just have a little light conversation as we begin. What's up?
Yeah, things are exciting to get things to kick off the year. We're focusing a lot on sales and our outbound campaigns, so automating a lot of parts of that side of the world. We're also continuing to look into how we can improve IntelliTier more to make it more useful and provide more insights for educators. So great start. And it's only a weekend. I feel like it's already been a month.
That's right. And they say January is the longest month of the year. Now we know why. We're always reminded of that. Yeah. So, Jose, tell us about New Light, the concept, how it became a reality for you, and what was the driving factor behind you deciding, okay, this is it, let's do it, let's get it done, and it became a reality.
Yeah, I think at the end of any large project, it's only natural to kind of take a step back and wonder what's next for me, right? And so, as you mentioned, I technically led the account sharing initiative at Netflix, and that was like a 3-year long project, extremely stressful.
Mm.
And so, once we launched and everything was super successful, then it just started kind of being a little bit of an evaluation moment for me on what I wanted to do next. I knew that ChatGPT came out in 22,
Mm-hmm.
and that was going to be just a transformational impact on a lot of software. And
Yeah.
so I started digging into some AI companies that I might want to join. Eventually, I just started wondering, like, well, what would it be like if I actually started something up myself? And then it became an exploration about the area. And so education kind of caught my eye because you always hear, at least in the US, complaints from educators or parents about how terrible the software that they use day to day is. And so I just saw that as an opportunity and something that we started jumping into.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Jose. How do you envision what you're working on transforming the traditional classroom somethings to something much more advanced and personalized that it benefits those who are involved more, including the teachers as well as the students?
Yeah, so actually our focus is a little bit more on the administration side. I think that there's a
Okay.
lot of stuff that's happening around personalized lesson plans, tutors, homework assignments that adjust as students go through it. So there's a lot of investment into the student side of the world. Where I haven't seen as much investment is on the administration side of the world, where you really focus on the strategies that are being executed inside of the schools to make sure
Mhm.
that you're creating the right environment, that students know what's expected of them, and are provided with additional skills like social and emotional skills to be able to succeed and just know how to handle different situations better. And so that's where I felt like there was a bit of an underinvestment. And so we started focusing on the administrators, help out, our educators that are overworked and
Yes.
arguably underpaid, help them out a little bit more and make their lives a little easier.
Okay, great. So we are focusing on the educators, the people at the forefront who
Yeah.
most of the times have the brunt of the responsibility, the weight of the responsibility to transfer that information to the students in a manner in which they would receive it and become educated. How is the response coming from educators, those who have been engaged with the system thus far? What are they saying? What's the feedback that you are getting?
Yeah, so they're excited that we're making their lives easier. Things
Hmm.
that took hours of research to try to figure out intervention strategies for students
Yeah.
can be done within minutes now, back and forth, kind of having a conversation with our AI. I've actually been trying to find like where our AI is doing a bad job, man. So I've asked our users like when did it make a bad recommendation, and so far it hasn't. So
Okay.
we're good on that side of the world. There I think that a little bit of a frustration that we've seen from educators recently is that they're asked a lot, especially teachers, they're asked to collect data, collect data, collect data, collect data, so that then somebody could look at that data, analyze it, and try to make those recommendations for interventions. But that entire pipeline isn't completed today. And so teachers are being asked to collect data. That's an additional thing that they have to do for their job, but they're
Yeah.
not seeing that being converted into any sort of action that has any impact on
Hmm.
the students. And I think that
Yeah.
that's creating a little bit of frustration. So having Intel here being able to actually complete that intent of being
Yeah.
making data driven decisions for
Hmm.
intervention strategies, I think is really providing some hope for what the future could be.
Yeah. Wonderful. Is there the cutting down, I should say, of the expense of time and extra resources and the research with the use of this product?
Yes, yeah. We're saving a lot of
Okay.
time
Hmm.
streamlining, the entire process and just trying to get the students the support they need sooner.
Wow. How does this component address the unique learning needs of students with diverse abilities or with physical challenges? I don't want to use the word disabilities, but differently abled in terms of physical limitations that they might have.
Yeah, I think for me, really what the advance of generative AI is doing is that it's allowing for personalization to happen with a lot less data that was required ever before. Um, in our previous generation of quote unquote AI, which was more machine learning,
Hmm.
really only the largest tech companies were able to take advantage of it because you needed a lot of data to be able to train models and then have those models provide personalized recommendations, right? And so if you think about a school with like 100 students, you're not going to have a ton of data to then be
Yeah.
able to say like when this situation happens, you need to recommend this other thing. And so what generative AI does is it builds an overall kind of understanding of a lot of different concepts of that we teach it on,
Hmm.
and part of it is the MTSS framework. And so by taking in a small amount of data now, like student history information, and combining that with more general knowledge and specific knowledge about the frameworks that dictate what the intervention should be, we can actually have personalized recommendations that are specific for the students without that requirement of having a large amount of data. And so I think just in general, this is the next generation of software that we're going to start seeing over the next 5 to 10 years, and it's going to impact every sector.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Jose. Something to definitely look forward to. Uh, in terms of the market, in terms of the market, are there any competitors that are doing the same thing that you're doing or similar to what you're doing? Or is there some level or room for collaboration with other innovators as well, seeing that we are focusing on the future with regards to education, and that is something that should be available for everybody?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of room for collaboration. I think with any new kind of piece of technology, you end up getting a lot of, I want to say, not so optimal solutions being put out there. Like they'll just try to put a ChatGPT wrapper on top of something and then say like, "Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, we have AI as a part of our
Okay.
system."
Hmm.
Um, and so we do see some competitors doing some of that, and it's not being very helpful, right? Like the difference maker is going to be the ones that actually take the time and figure out how does this integrate well within the entire system to be able to provide useful insights for educators and not just say like we added something on top of this. Look, we're now an AI company. And so it takes a little bit more of a digging into, and I'm not seeing a lot of competitors doing what we're doing. It's always been kind of a big part of the philosophy of the company of New Light to say like, look, we're bringing in some really high skilled people to do the actual work to bring out a ton of value and provide software that we just haven't seen in the education space very often.
Okay, great. I'm thinking about the level of intensity and the level of application, because if you're looking at the different stages of school, there would, as you go higher towards like
Yeah.
college and university, it requires a higher level of commitment in terms of the research, in terms of the information, in terms of the storing of the data. How does this particular product, this innovative that you are doing, assisting in that area? Or is it one common system or generic system across the board?
So it's one system where we can centralize a lot of the data and make data collection as simple as possible. And of
Okay.
course, by having one system that falls completely within our control, we can provide assurances around security and privacy of the data to make sure that we're taking care of this pretty sensitive information that's being provided about students.
Okay, great. Have you identified any challenges that the educational system may be experiencing in adapting to the change or the influx of adopting AI driven personalized training?
Oh, 100%.
Uh huh.
Right now, the people that are taking or grabbing the most value from,
Yeah.
like, let's say ChatGPT and other generative AI solutions are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that understand the prompt engineering, quote unquote, side of the world of it, right?
Okay.
Like, there's a certain way that you have to talk to it or provide instructions or additional information or detail to get
Mm,
exactly the type of output that you want. If
yeah.
you're not molding those prompts in the way that it needs to be done, you're not going to get the output, the high quality outputs that you're potentially looking for. And a lot of people are going to drop off and say, like, this isn't really that useful. And so part of the challenge here is um, getting away from that prompt engineering side of the world and simplifying the experience in a way that anybody can use it and be able to grab that value. And so a lot of what we're trying to do now is more kind of guide educators one way or the other. It like figure out what their intent is initially and then start guiding them towards that destination while still kind of trying to grab additional information from them in order to make sure that the output that they get is super valuable for them.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong here, Jose. I believe I'm hearing that you're working with them in a more practical way to
Yeah,
decide how best this technology can assist them to get the
exactly.
best desired result that they need with regards to the progress with personalized education and the integration of the AI system itself. Is there a time period that you would use to do this process where they would become familiar with it and know how to actually maximize the use of it to help them assist them along the process of what they do as educators.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because I feel like as somebody that studied computer science and been in the industry for 15 years and have been a ChatGPT user since it launched, I wouldn't say
Mm-hmm.
that I know how to maximize the value that I get from the
Okay.
system.
Okay.
So, no, it's a very difficult. I think I see some prompts from other people that are like specializing in this or really focusing on it. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, that prompt is way better than anything I've ever written before. And I could see why they're getting better output. And so it's really trying to take that complexity and simplify it as much as possible, or doing things proactively for the user so that they don't even have to worry about it, right? Just like provide them with that information and insights that the AI can provide up front so that they don't even
Mm-hmm.
have to try to go through any sort of experience like this. And
Okay.
that kind of goes back to what I was saying, where it's like we're not just doing a ChatGPT wrapper, we're really digging into trying to figure out how we can maximize the value that we get from AI to provide that in a super easy to use way in our software.
Yeah, wonderful. What is the future for New Light in terms of improving what you're doing or going off in different areas, but still maintaining this as a mainstream and then using something to complement it?
Yeah. So we're starting off with the student support. It's kind of our introduction into the education world. Like, look at what we can do as a company compared to basically all other products that
Uh
they may
huh.
have tried before. And then it's us starting to dig into like, okay, what's your next problem? What's the next problem? What's the next like frustrating system that you're using?
Yeah.
And we'll build something for those solutions. We do have like a long-term vision. I won't announce it here today,
You don't have
but
to. You
it
don't have
is
to.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be, like chipping away, just like chip, chip, chip every single day, continue to improve, and eventually just provide educators, parents, and students with the best experience at school that they can.
Yeah, wonderful. Sounds good. Thank you for sharing. So we're gonna stop here for a moment and we're gonna be out for about 30 seconds just to take a break and allow our friends from fineradioguest.com to share some information with regards to how they can promote product, authors, coaches, podcast hosts, and if you're launching a book or whatever you're doing with regards to your online platform, they can help you maximize that and have access to as many experts as possible. Hold on for this, and we'll be right back. FindRadioGuest.com, the place to click to find guests to interview for free. And if you're a radio show booker, podcaster, talk show host, or television producer, then this is the place to get podcasts and radio interviews or promote your books and products as a guest expert sponsor. FindRadioGuest.com. Check it out. Yeah, so we thank our friends at fineradioguest.com for giving us the bumps that they do so often and putting our profile out there that we can be ensured of at least turning up on somebody's platform at some point in time. Yep. So we're going to get back to Jose Moreno. He's the CEO of New Light. And this episode is entitled The Transformative Potential of AI in Personalizing Education with Jose Moreno. The question that I want to go at now is one that a lot of people are asking and are very curious about with regards to the use of AI. And the thing is, how can we ensure that AI in education remains ethical and unbiased? Are there any measures that we can take to ensure that the integrity of the original content remains intact?
Yeah. So I think just to kick things off, the most important thing to say is that the data that's been used to train these AI models are absolutely biased. It's
Okay.
absolutely in there. You can't get around that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it just becomes the reason for it is because of where the data comes from, right? And just naturally, you're going to get higher quality types of data from one area compared to others. And that data seems to be biased one way or the other. The good
Mm,
thing, though, and what we're doing is that these models have also been trained on strategies on how to focus on equity and equality
okay.
and fight against some of those biases. So although overall the model is going to be more biased than not, it also has strategies for how to fight against it. There has to be a focus to
Mm-hmm.
actually be able to go in there and try to get that priority out of the model to say like, hey, look, your data is biased. Like, there's no way to get around it, but you also know how to approach this in a better way. And so
Uh-huh.
make sure you're leveraging like some of those strategies to ensure equity for students and such. And um, the way that I kind of see this is that a lot of times, and it just kind of goes back to this natural bias that we have in our lives. It's not so much because there's any ill intent. It's just that there aren't people thinking about it. They're not like thinking about the impact of cultures that are not cultures that you recognize or have ever been a part of. And but if you have somebody at the top or in the room as a part of these conversations to make sure that we are taking care of this, that we are looking into it, and that you're being analytical in terms of the way that the output of your models are coming out, then you can do some work in order to make sure that you're focusing on equity. And so we're very proud of the work that we do to try to focus on that.
Yeah, and hats off to you guys for that, Jose. Thank you for sharing. In terms of what New Light is doing, do you all have an internal mentorship program, or something where you bring that sense of awareness to maybe not just young people but anyone who's interested in the process of personalized education?
Yeah, we're still a young company.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to get off of the ground. So right now we don't
Yeah.
really have that resource availability
Okay.
to kind of do anything other than just stay alive. But that is an interesting idea and something that maybe in like 5 years, 3 to 5 years, we could start looking into a little bit more.
Are there any predictions from you, Jose, with regards to the next big leap for AI in education?
Oh, that is a great question. I think, and I'm starting to see some of this today where you're getting kind of like personalized assignments, but
Mhm.
I think eventually it kind of just goes into digging deeper and deeper into how you're learning, or like when you're in the process of learning something, the system should be able to dynamically adjust based off of how it understands that you're grasping that subject.
Okay.
And so if you, like, let's say, are learning how to do addition, and you learned how to do 1 plus 3, right? And it, based off of how long it took the student to come up with that answer, then it could
Mm-hmm.
maybe step into like 1 plus 5, or it could start moving over to like 9 plus 7, right? Like, and just adjusting that time of how much you're
Mm-hmm.
sticking into those core concepts, I think is a really, really interesting thing that is now a possibility that wasn't possible before.
Yeah, something to look forward to. Quite intriguing. Would you consider doing any kind of memoir with regards to the work that you're currently doing? Keeping.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. My mom is the one with the interesting life story, and I'm trying to
Uh
get
huh.
her to write something.
Uh huh.
Um, Maybe it could be a combination of the two. But my mom grew up going to like private school in kind of a well-off situation in El Salvador. But then a civil war broke out in the 80s, and she
Mm,
had to run to the US as a refugee, basically to look for safety. And when she
yeah.
came to the US, she had to start all over, and then she had me, and so she had additional responsibilities on top of like all the troubles that she had. And for her to, yeah, start off with like a pretty comfortable situation to then go to the US and
Mm-hmm.
spend the next 20, 25 years doing everything that she needed to do in order to get us ahead, and then get me to this point, like, I think that that's the interesting story as opposed to my specific story.
All right. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Is there any specific steps that schools can take to begin incorporating the use of AI into their curriculums? Because eventually all schools will have to do that. That's the direction in which the world is going right now, one way or the other. But are you seeing maybe a hesitation from some institutions, or Is everybody on board and saying, okay, we have to do it, but maybe not as quick as the others? Some may have some reservations. What is your take? What have you seen thus far?
I think there's reservations everywhere. I see
Yeah,
reservations within the
yeah,
software engineering community.
yeah, yeah.
And so and software engineers tend to be the ones that are like quickest to adopt new technologies, right? But I see some delays there, and I think that that only gets bigger as you go into the more general population. And so educators will definitely have some hesitancy there. Uh, I think it's going to be a process. I think it's going to be more as we learn about this technology, as the technology gets better and more reliable. And then honestly, I think that the user experience needs to get better. Like I said, the prompt engineering sort of solution that we have today, it's not one that's going to be easily adaptable by the entire population. I think you have to make that entire experience much more simple to be able to get the maximized value out of it. And so that has to happen first before we really start moving things forward.
Hmm. If you had the opportunity, Jose, to advise policymakers with regards to the use of AI, what are some of the things that you would tell them that would help them make better informed decisions?
Yeah, use it first of all.
Of course,
But
of
yeah,
course, of
you see
course, of
some
course.
like discussions happening recently, and like they're
Hmm.
making policy decisions, and they have no idea like what they're even making a decision about, or like how
Wow.
people use it on a day-to-day basis. It's actually kind of scary. But
Mm.
you actually like jump into it, see what kind of output you're getting, like what's good, what's bad. That's the only real
Hmm.
way to make informed decisions about how to move things forward, right? I guess hiring somebody that can teach you or taking classes to learn a little bit more about how to use this technology could be a good way to move those things forward. But on the and I usually think more about the tech solution side of the world, right? Like how
Yeah,
do we
yeah,
solve these problems?
yeah,
And like I was mentioning, like bringing down that bar for usability is absolutely a requirement in order to get more people to use it and to understand what it is and what it isn't. And so, I mean, it's a process. ChatGPT has been out for
yeah, yeah.
3 years,
Hmm.
um, and we're just getting started.
Yeah. Okay, so I have looked at a number of things and I find it quite intriguing, Jose, in that we had the Star Wars trilogy, and that was a huge drawing for people as far as entertainment and theater and technology is concerned. And then we had Neo, um, people doing the Neo dance, and we had other producers kind of mimicking how he would dodge the bullets and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, if we are so interested in advance and in technology, how come we are not so quick to adapt to AI in a manner that can give us that added advantage and at the same time still retain our original humanity? Have that thought ever crossed your mind, or has that thought been brought up by anyone that you have had involvement with regards to understanding the benefits of AI?
Yeah, I mean, all the time, all the time. I have really close friends who still aren't using ChatGPT, even though like I've now built my entire life around it. Not
Yeah, yeah,
ChatGPT specifically, but this AI technology,
yeah.
right? Like my entire life is focused on it, and super smart people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that kind of scares me. But like as we get older, it's stereotypical or only kind of natural for older people to stop using like the latest technology that's happening, right? Um, I think that's human nature. Once you start getting to a point where you don't really understand what's going on anymore, then you stop kind of like digging into it. But we
Yeah,
all have to, yeah, continue to use it and take advantage. I think the people that are really gonna benefit from this technology and put themselves in the best situation kind of moving forward with this technology are the ones that understand it and the ones that use it. Others are gonna get left behind the way that we've seen previous generations get left behind. Um, and you yeah, we shouldn't fall into those traps. I'm hoping that I never get to the point where I don't want to use like the latest technology that's coming out.
oh, we have to understand that progress has something that goes with it that accompanies the progress.
Yeah.
And this is one aspect of it. But if the focus, Jose, is on education, and like I said before, something that everyone should gravitate to, should respond to, then there should be a deeper, more concerted interest to
Yeah.
invest and to be involved, and so that we find a way forward that benefits everybody in the end.
Yeah. What I'm really loving about the education space right now is that they seem to be transitioning, at least in the US, into a
Hmm.
more data driven
Yeah,
world.
yeah,
Looking at the analytics of things, looking at the metrics of seeing like how certain changes are impacting the success of students. And so the nice thing about what we're doing, and as we continue to get into additional um, like spaces, is that we'll be able
hmm,
to see the actual impact that we're having. And if we see, as we hypothesize, that that impact is going to be pretty significant, then it becomes an easier story to tell future customers and even the people that are like hesitant on AI. You look at what the actual impact is and the outcome, and you see that improvement, then I think you are almost left like with no choice but to try to start figuring out how do you bring that into your system, your school system.
as well. Yeah, it's a matter of getting on board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so
So
you have to look for the people that are like um, innovators or willing to jump into like the latest innovation, and then you have to start actually getting results. Once you get those results, you can start sharing that out and start convincing on the like more and more people.
yeah, exactly. So, folks, we have been in the company of Jose Marino, sorry, the CEO of New Light. This episode entitled "The Transformative Potential of AI in Personalizing Education" with Jose Marino. I'm going to put up some information on the screen there, and Jose, you can tell them which one is the most effective one. They can make contact with you to find out more about the product and the company and how they can engage with your core competencies.
Yeah, so the one on the bottom right is our main webpage, newlight.io. And then the first one is our LinkedIn New Light page. Please follow us there. I think we're most active in that space more than any of the other socials. I'm also pretty active on my personal one as we go through this journey, and as I personally go through this journey and share out some of my insights. So you can follow me on my LinkedIn page there. But then the Facebook and Instagram, we try to stay active, but it's a little bit more difficult to
Yeah.
focus on all these.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll leave it up there for a minute.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of the other social media platforms, in terms of the press, radio, newspapers, what role do you see them playing in the promotion of this positive aspect of the AI products?
Yeah. So we recently had a USA Today article,
Mm-hmm.
and then that got picked up by Yahoo Finance and a few other um, media networks. So that was kind of exciting. But I think all of these different platforms are just strategies, different strategies to raise awareness and do marketing, right? And like I said, we all kind of get stuck in our ways and with like a certain technology that we end up liking and stop kind of moving on to the next thing. And so I do think that the different platforms reaches out to different popular parts of the population. And so you kind of had to go across all of them to really get that breadth of
Yeah,
influence that you're looking for.
yeah, wonderful. Okay, great. So we have come to the last minute, Jose, of our program. And I would like to give you the opportunity to say something that you feel could really get people to understand how dynamic what you guys are doing are and the positive impact that you're looking to make on the entire education system.
I think the biggest thing that I want to say is that we're a company filled with people who know how to build amazing tech products. We are not, at least the main employees of the company, are not people that come from education because we've been building software for our
Yeah,
careers. And so, what we're doing right now is that we're relying a lot on our advisors who all do have long, successful education careers and our customers. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're building products for our customers. And
right.
so, it's up to our customers to tell us like what's working, what isn't, what's missing, what's the biggest pain point on any given day. And then that starts to give us ideas of what we can build in order to help them out. And that's our approach. We're not coming in as like Silicon Valley people that know all the answers for education. I 100% will tell you that I did not know all the answers for education,
Right.
barely
Right.
any of the answers for education.
Hmm.
What we're doing is we're providing our skill sets to solve the problems that educators are telling us that they're having.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You've been an engaging and informative guest, Jose.
Thank you.
And folks, we have been in the presence of Jose Moreno, the CEO of New Light, and we are looking at the transformative potential of AI in personalizing education for now and for the future. So check out the information, check out their LinkedIn page and the website, as well as the Facebook page and the Instagram page, and make contact with Jose and see what the guys are doing at New Light. And maybe you can find the opportunity to increase your potential for embracing the technology that they're working on, which he is assured, and I'm assured by now, can bring much more light and hope to the process of education for the future, particularly, as he said, for the educators, the ones who carry the burden of the responsibility for making sure that the information gets out there. So, until next time, this is Andy of Andy's Personal Development on Transactional Conversations, together with my guest, Jose Marino, saying thank you. We hope that you have gained intentionality, clarity, and purpose. Bye for now, guys.